Hey, 1, 2, yep, here we go. Here we go again. Another live show coming up today in this cold Canadian day. And we are live. Things look pretty cool. Well, you could see my coffee mug in the screen. Kind of interesting. A little too dark and a little too bright. Hello everybody. Welcome aboard. Let's just change this and we are off to another show. Hey everybody, welcome aboard. This is the live tech show. Number 95 for November 7th, 2017. And coffee for today. What's this here? This weird. Okay, that looks weird. Doesn't look the colors it should. Weird. Anyways. This is the live show, number 95. We are November 7th in 2017. I'm not lost with my dates today. I was totally lost yesterday. Nice to hear you, have everybody here. Of course, we have a nice chat room for those that want to join in the fun. This is a show every Tuesdays, 3 p.m. Eastern Time. We talk about technology with news, and then we answer questions if we have questions to answer. And we just have a lot of fun. There's a nice chat room, some nice people out there, and hope that you all will enjoy today's show. And of course, this show would not be possible without donations, and hopefully you can spare a little something at paypal.me/shortwave, or if you use the Yahoo email, it works. Patreon.com/radio and computers. You don't see it really fully here because I'm kind of in front of the screen a little more. So nice to have all of you here, and no, I will not fix your computer. It's a joke. So anyways, without donations, this show would not be able to continue, and thank you so much for those that donated. And of course, call out right if you can't. So, a little setup, different setup today, because I've testing little things here. I want to see how things go. So hey everybody, welcome aboard. We have Niels Pedersen, Sean Robinson, Tim Robinson, David Walker, Patrick Manny, Cycler 39, Bobby Burgess, Christine Bowman. We have David Walker, Albert Zappa. We have Douglas Elliott, and we are at show 95. Yes, absolutely. It's just like wow, time really flies. And we have apparently the image, the ISO for build 17025 released. So if you guys want to do a clean install, come on. People want to see you. People want to see the cat, of course. Here's Mr. Cat saying hi to everybody. And this is the mascot. From what I understand, when the cat is here, we better just, leave. I better go. You guys just want to see the cat, apparently. So nice to have all of you on board, and it's always cool to have everybody here. If I miss anybody, say hi. You are going to say hello to everyone. Anybody I missed, let me just check it out here. I can go down. So nice to have all of you here. I'm just gonna do a little something here because Mr. Paul wants to. Am I having a party for 100? I'm thinking of what I could do for 100, absolutely. So don't be surprised that 100 there might be something special, and I don't know exactly what. We'll see what we can do. Sorry, Mr. Cat, but here we go. So nice to have everybody on board. So in the news today, a little bit of power outage. Kind of a very, very mysterious power outage for the internet. Yesterday and somewhat today. A lot of people are still complaining that there's some problems with speed on their connectivity. So basically it's kind of weird because nobody seems to really understand what has started to create these problems yesterday around. It started a little early, like 9 a.m. Some people started reporting yesterday morning some connectivity issues across the United States. At first, mostly Comcast, Xfinity connections on the internet, but as we went through the day, it was worse and worse, and other ISPs started, noticing there were some problems with their connections. And there was also a lot of problems with different services, like Microsoft Azure had some connectivity issues. We had all sorts of problems with different services, which seems to point out that the problem is not the ISPs themselves, but maybe something in the middle. A lot of people started pointing out level 3, which is kind of one of the major backbone of the internet. And but we don't have a lot of news of exactly what is happening, where it's happening. We are also wondering, is there some kind of denial of service attack somewhere? Did level 3 get a distributed denial of service attack? Is it still going on? Because just before the show, I started looking at the reports, and most reports seem to point out that there's some slow connectivity. So some people reporting the internet's there. It's not like yesterday. Yesterday, a lot of users were saying that there was no internet at all. And well, that was kind of a big one. So, anyways, today things are back, at least with connectivity, but there's a lot of problems with with the speed. Some people are still reporting slow speed, so that's very, very, very weird. What happens, and we don't really know, and it's almost as if nobody really knows what's happening. So it's DDoS attacks are the first thing that a lot of people think, because DDoS attacks are kind of one of those things that that can happen at any time. I mean, it's getting very, last week we were talking about the Internet of Things devices that were poorly maintained in security. And, the first thing that came to my mind yesterday is, somebody decided to use that IoT botnet and attack something on the internet so that everything slows down. So it's kind of weird. Hey, Grip Old Pearls, nice to have you on board, by the way. Well, I just noticed something that I didn't even know. With 2 fingers, I can actually go forward or backward in my PowerPoint. You learn things every day. So, yep, really, really weird connectivity. Hey, Cool Tech says had no internet for 3 hours, don't know why. So, I think it all goes with that. Lots of connectivity issues, apparently. And it seems to be, Nils in Sweden says no internet problem. It seems to be pretty much across the United States. When you look at the map, and this is the map of yesterday afternoon, by the way, you could see that it actually limits itself. When you go up and you look at the Canadian border here, you see that it doesn't really affect us here in Canada. And the big part of the United States that was actually affected is the East Coast. You see the East Coast. So this is 3 p.m. yesterday. That's what it looked like yesterday. But we see that there are big patches, even on the West Coast in California, here in the center of the United States. But really, really major in the East Coast up to Florida down there. So what is happening? We still don't know. And of course, I will be checking that out. And we'll see if what exactly is creating all of that. But it's mysterious. There's still not a lot of talk about what exactly did occur for this to happen. So it's kind of weird. So anyways, if you have some slowdowns today, just before we got on the air, I looked at the map, and there were still there's like about 10 times more reports than usual of connectivity issues today. So it shows that there's something happening. But all the posts that I've seen, people complaining of slow internet, not of no internet at all. So I guess it's not as bad as yesterday. Hey, Sam Gibson, nice to have you on board. We never know. You know, North Korea has been doing a lot of little things lately, and on the web also. It could be anything. Just crazy when you think about it. And you know, it's scary because I mean, when you could see that something can bring down the internet so easily, it makes you wonder. Maybe we should think of, you know, new ways of getting connectivity so that it doesn't happen. Apart from that, we have Tor, the Tor network. Tor network, for those that don't know what it is, okay, we have something called the dark web. The dark web is a component of the internet. It is something that is used by some people for good and for bad. I mean, there's, you know, like everything on the internet, there's good things, bad things happening. Basically, what's happening is that there's, I need to do something about that. The light you see here when I do this, there's a spot there, and it comes from the lamp that's right there on my left, and we'll need to fix that next show. So anyways, the Tor network is, or the Tor browser is used with what's called the onion router. The onion router is what is the dark web. It's an encrypted side of the internet, and there's a lot of people that say, oh, that shouldn't exist, that dark side of the internet, people do bad things there. Now, you know, yes, there's bad things. I mean, you know, illegal drug dealings and all sorts of weird things happening there. There was a ring of child pornography that was actually taken down last year. So, yeah, people do use that to do bad things in part. But there's a good side to the dark web, and the good side to it is that everything is encrypted and everything is multi-hop between different servers, which reduces the possibility of tracking anyone down. So if you're say you're an activist in a country where you can't really speak your mind, example Russia, and you want to speak your mind against Putin, you know, there are a lot of countries. Here you go, Mr. Cat. Here we go. Okay, so that dark web is actually good also because people that don't have the ability or the possibility to speak out can actually do it through the dark web in some cases. And there was an example last week of good use of the dark web, which is the usage of the dark web to actually you know, have the New York Times. They were talking about the New York Times that was online on the onion router, the dark web, and visible through the Tor browser. And what happens with that is that there is the possibility that people that just can't really access the news because it's censored in our country, say China, well, there's a possibility of accessing the news, the real news, and know what's happening around the world, you know. So that's a good side to the you know, onion and the Tor browser and everything. Adon Gardado, nice to have you on board. So what's happening is they're upgrading right now the systems. They're upgrading every servers that are actually hosting dark web or onion router stuff. So basically it's actually giving more encryption. So it's going to be even more difficult for law enforcement to really know what is being done in there. Also, there's law enforcement, you know, because we saw that law enforcement really tried a lot of little things here. One of them is register a dark web server in which they could actually decrypt and re-encrypt and then continue the traffic so they could snoop. Well, the new rules, the new things that will be implemented in the encryption and also in the security of the Tor network kind of tries to prevent this now. It will actually need to have some specific guarantees for example, for new servers to host dark web. So for these to happen, there's going to be a lot of background check as to where, who, and how it's done. And this is going to be the future of this dark web. And yes, you know, I get this all the time. I get people that say, "Oh, that just shouldn't exist," or you know, and I don't agree. I agree that the dark web needs to be there. You know, I always give the same example. You're gonna ban knives because somebody killed someone with a knife? No, we need knives. Well, the internet, I think we need a encrypted side. Actually, I think all the internet should be like that, and everybody should be just, you know, not, you know, having the possibility not be snooped on by law enforcement and so on. So, you know, I think it's a good thing. But like everything, there are some people that do bad things with these tools. But I think it's very, very nice that they are upgrading all of that and that it's continuing. You know, law enforcement, governments, a lot of them want this thing to be gone, and it needs to stay. Twitter, interesting story with Twitter. So, okay, Twitter is testing out for some people. It's testing out for some people 280 character tweets. But the funny thing about that is a lot of people are complaining that the 280 character tweets are too much. Now, you know, when you get used to 140 characters, I gotta say, you're able to say a lot of things within that 140 characters. 280 is not bad. I think it's okay that it moves to 280. I don't want it to move more than that. But there are two German guys this weekend that were actually looking at Twitter and tweeting stuff with the 280 character limit, and they found a bug. They actually found a way to post 35,000 character tweets. And so they, of course, tested it out by sending out strings of tweets that had 35,000 different random characters. And it was just so funny that they found that little loophole there. Of course, Twitter reacted, saying they're fixing that. But I gotta say, 35,000 character tweets, I don't think I want to see that. Really not. What else do we have? What do we have basically in there is, you know, Twitter trying to, you know, get its way around and become a good citizen of the social media with a lot of new rules that are slowly being enforced. Jacques Moses, hello there. How to reset the whole registry edit? Simply reinstall Windows and you've got a reset. That's the only way you can reset a registry. Reinstall Windows. Okay. Windows is free. Windows 10 is free. Yeah, that's going away. We've learned that the last, you know, the last official way of getting Windows 10 for free was to get what we go to the assistive technology website, where basically this is for handicapped people that need to have specific technologies in order to use their PCs. And Microsoft had said, we are going to you know, keep Windows 10 free for assistive technologies, but they had said not forever, but for a while. Well, that for a while is up. On December 31st, if you have not upgraded with this formula, December 31st, this offer is ending. Which raises another question, because now we're thinking, oh, if this offer is ending, what does it mean? Does it mean that the loophole that we still have, which is if you've got a Windows 7 or Windows 8.1 key, you can upgrade to Windows 10 for free still? Is that loophole also ending? That's the question we're asking ourselves. We are wondering if maybe January 1st, when it arrives, we basically will have no more free upgrade possibilities. Paul Tarot tests that like almost every week. And I think it's last week he said, yeah, you can still upgrade with a valid key that was unused. And you know what? There was an interesting debate there, because he said some people had reported to him, even if the key is already used, you can use it multiple times. So it's kind of curious, but maybe it's possible. I don't know. I've tested it here on one of my machines, an Acer that had a key. Now, some people say OEM keys don't work. Well, the Acer Windows 7 key that was under the laptop is an OEM, which is a key that is from the original manufacturer. Well, I used it, and it got validated, and I had a Windows 10 that activated on that computer. So, you know what? It seems to be pretty broad how you can use it. But is it going away also? That's the other question here. I'm starting to wonder if when they close the loophole for the assistive technology, I think they're going to close the loophole for the Windows 7, Windows 8.1 keys also. So if you want to upgrade, I think it's now, because you won't be able to really get there for sure. Is Patch Tuesday today? No, it's the second Tuesday. Always the second Tuesday of the month. So it's next Tuesday. We'll have Patch Tuesday on the 14th. Because last week was 31st, was still October. It will be a very late Patch Tuesday this month. Probably the latest it can be for the 14th. So it's next week for Patch Tuesday, absolutely. So what else is there? Nils Pedersen says, upgraded my new computer from Windows 10 to Windows Pro with a Windows 7 key, no problem. So, it's working for now. If you guys haven't upgraded to Windows 10 for free, I think you got to do it before the end of December. I think in January all of that is gone, and the only way to have a working Windows 10 will be to purchase a Windows 10 operating system for Microsoft. So that might possibly also make it a little faster for the Windows 10 adoption. Some people that were waiting like for last minute might start saying, hey, I think I'm gonna do it. Okay, Broadcom, Qualcomm. I'm going to talk a little bit about this because it can change a lot of how technology is going to be affected, the prices of our devices. So, okay, Broadcom. What's Broadcom? It's a major company that makes chips of all sorts for wireless, including Wi-Fi chips. So a lot of devices actually have a Broadcom Wi-Fi chip in their network adapter. Qualcomm also is a maker of devices like that, but also of LTE or cell connectivity chips. Now, Qualcomm is in trouble because they actually used their dominant position in the LTE chips to kind of overcharge companies, and they even actually told companies, well, if you don't give us an extra bonus, we're going to stop giving you LTE chips. And the Qualcomm chips are some of the fastest. So every company, Apple for their iPhone, Samsung for the Galaxy S7, they want to have the fastest chips in their devices. So for a while, they paid the extra to actually use Qualcomm stuff. But that goes against most countries' federal trade deals because you're not allowed to do that. You're not allowed to use your dominant position. So Qualcomm's in trouble. There are some Federal Trade Commission in the United States that's looking at what's happening. Taiwan actually gave them a $700 million fine. And Apple and Samsung are suing, and of course Qualcomm is suing back. It's a very complex issue. Broadcom offered yesterday $130 billion to purchase Qualcomm. What that will change is that there were two companies, Broadcom and Qualcomm, and there was kind of a competition. With that merger, there's no more competition. So, you know, if we were going crazy at Qualcomm, taking control and dominating and doing bad things because they dominate, I think it's gonna get worse. Because now they're creating the biggest wireless chipset company, the wireless chips in the world. And they will sell everything. I mean, everything we have in telecommunications for LTE, for Wi-Fi will come from them. Pretty much. You know, Intel has a few things, but Intel isn't in the game. Intel is far from being in the game. They need to ramp it up if they want to be in the game. So it's kind of scary because that means prices could actually get higher suddenly. It means our devices are going to buy phones, tablets, laptops, everything that has Wi-Fi chips, everything that has LTE chips for cell connectivity. Well, that could mean trouble for us. So I think that's really... So I think there's really something that is not necessarily a good thing, and but they want to go through. I can tell you that. I can tell you that. So what else do we have here? So yeah, there's a lot of things that happen with my. Well, all the problems I had, the settings and all that is in the, by the way, in the insider preview. That's where I lost my settings at some point and stuff like that. And so anyways, yes, I will be updating my clean install video, Albert's up. I just need the time, you know. I have about 20 videos that are in my urgent list of posting as fast as possible. But I had a lot of a problem with lack of time with Microsoft work and everything, and I just didn't have time. So I'm gonna do that as soon as I can, and we'll try to ramp up a little bit the videos of Fall Careers Update. One will be reinstall, a clean install of Windows 10 Fall Careers Update, how it works. So yes, Alex, I did get your email on the problems with the Windows Store and Windows 10. So kind of interesting. Ismail Massa, nice to have you here. So like we say, better late than never. What else do we have to talk about? Well, that famous hamburger that actually, you know, made the web go crazy last week, because that's the regular emoji of hamburgers everywhere. That's the Android version or the Google version of a hamburger with the cheese at the bottom, which was what? And so it made people go crazy. Shows that people are actually maybe paying too much attention to things that are not useful in life. But anyways, the funniest thing, and you know, that's really Google style, is that they actually served these hamburgers at Google employees. So when they went to the cafeteria to get hamburgers, they had the hamburgers with the cheese at the bottom, which is kind of a funny little thing. You know, that's very Google-like, and very, very funny. Hey guys, just gonna wait 2 seconds, okay? Mr. Paul the Cat is requiring my attention. I think he wants to go outside. So 2 seconds, I'm back as we are looking at hamburgers. So Mr. Cat wants to go outside, exactly like I thought. And I'm getting fresh coffee at the same time. Here we go, Mr. Cat. So, refresh the coffee, make it a little warmer. here we are back as Mr. the cat decided to go outside. Very cold today, about 36, 38 Fahrenheit. It's like +4 Celsius right now. And we're gonna get a real cold spell, by the way, here. It's supposed to be -12 Celsius on Thursday night, which is what, maybe 15 Fahrenheit, something like that. It's gonna be really, really cold in the coming days, and maybe some snow on the weekend. So winter is coming here. So anyways, so anyway, that hamburger thing was just kind of funny and really, really crazy when you think about it. So anyway, cheeseburger emoji, that's kind of weird. And I don't know who decided to do that hamburger with that cheese at the bottom. I don't know. Maybe that person makes his hamburgers like that all the time, and for him it was normal to see it like that. I don't know. Okay, Android is celebrating 10 years. It was on November the 5th of 2007 that Google announced a new operating system that would go into mobile devices like smartphones, like tablets, and all sorts of devices. Anyways, who would have thought that 10 years later it would be the dominant operating system? I mean, if we purely look at operating systems, the dominant system isn't Windows. The dominant system around the world is Android, which is much more present than Windows. It drives hundreds of millions of devices, if not billions of devices, including all sorts of things like, smart TVs. It could be little Android boxes for, multimedia experience and stuff like that. Media centers, phones, tablets. I mean, so many things are running on Android. And 10 years is just amazing. I didn't even think it was 10 years, by the way. And basically, when you think about it, just crazy. And so many things, so many updates also. So many changes with the years. I mean, I always thought that the first versions of Android. Hey, Andre Arias, nice to have you here. I always thought the first versions of Android were kind of bad. They weren't really, interesting, and they were kind of difficult. And they're getting, actually, I think it's getting, better and better now with all the new versions. I think version 6, 7, 8. So, just, hey, Mr. Volts, nice to have you here. Oh, absolutely. It runs on everything, including really, really cheap stuff. It runs on things that cost almost nothing. You can buy $20 devices that run Android. And Android is, getting better. I find that, version Marshmallow was good. I find that Oreo version 7 is good. No, Oreo is version 8. Version 7 is, I'm getting lost in my Android. So there's Marshmallow. There's, oh, I forgot what versions. Let's go back to the Android versions for a second here. Android versions, I'm getting lost. So KitKat was 4.4. Lollipop was 5. We had, okay, Nougat. So Marshmallow was 6, Nougat was 7, and Oreo is 8. I've seen Oreo on a Pixel device that a friend of mine has because I wanted to try it out a little bit. And I gotta say, I found it really interesting. The changes are really interesting. Daniel Walsh, nice to have you here. And Josh Kinder also. So anyways, it's really kind of interesting. And they are getting better all the time. I think there's still a need to have it maybe a little more. What is I would say right now still maybe a slight issue is trying to find some settings sometimes and trying to find where different things are when you want to change stuff. One of the major issues that I got to stress out about Android that I hate is security updates. Security updates. You never know when they're going to appear on devices. You know, unless you've got a Google phone, a Pixel phone of some sort, you never know when they're going to get there. And I think that's probably the #1 problem of Android. Not rolling out the security stuff fast enough to all devices. And that's not counting that there's a lot of older stuff that's not updated anymore. But that said, you know, if you look at Windows, I mean, Windows XP isn't, you know, Windows Vista, Windows whatever, those older versions of Windows are not getting updated also. So basically, you know, so it's really crazy. And yeah, but I give the fault to half and half of faults because Android could have been done differently. But you know, it's of course not the same ecosystem as a iPhone. I mean, the iPhone, you know, it's like there's just a few devices, and Apple controls everything. So it is much easier for Apple to update its devices and the way that it's done. And there's so few devices. One thing for sure is Android is on thousands of different devices. It's not like running on 4 phones, you know. And so that, of course, does make it more complex. But it's crazy because, I mean, it leaves a lot of, you know, problems with security. You know, for example, my Galaxy S7 is still unpatched for that Wi-Fi WPA2 problem. When will it be? Okay, it's crazy. It's crazy. But you know, I'd like to have a Pixel phone probably for that, having everything immediately, even the latest versions of Android. But oh, absolutely, and you know, that's also okay. It's the good side of Android is very customizable. But I got to say one thing: there's a lot of, you know, manufacturers are really bad at making their own crap into the Android stuff, and that I gotta, you know, I find it totally crazy, totally crazy. So, anyways, 10 years for Android. That's not bad at all. Phishing scams, and what to avoid. Of course, we were seeing some phishing scams going on with Android, and one of the things that, you know, you got to be careful is these are getting more and more popular. Trying to lure you into an Android phone, for example, and installing a you know, some app out of the security of the phones, you know, outside. It's already bad that, you know, Google Play Store sometimes have software that has problems, but it's also crazy that you know, you got to be careful not to add the fact that, you know, there's security in the Android phones. Try to be careful not to you know, don't follow any app that actually asks basically you know, to remove the security so you can install an app from the internet instead of the store, stuff like that, which should not be done, never be done for sure. Gripple pearls, you can't remove the stuff from your Samsung phone. It's there and it's going to stay there, or else, and unless you want to have problems. That's unfortunately the way that things go sometimes. So yeah, you know, I think there's a lot of testing. You know, one of the things for sure about that Vaults is there's probably a lot of testing they want to do before they push everything. But you know, it's just crazy. And by the way, there's one of the things about the famous crack WPA2 problem. So it's nice if you've got your firmware update for a router. If you don't, one of the things that's important is that the devices be patched. Even if your router never has, and I'm going to talk about it a little later because it's a question that came up again with people being a little scared of that Wi-Fi problem. But if your devices are all, you know, if all your laptops, phones, and everything is patched, it doesn't matter if your router's not, because it's okay, it's safe. You know, for those that have older routers that will never be patched, at least if your devices, your Windows devices, your Mac, your Android, or your iPhone or iPad, you know, are patched, you're safe. It doesn't matter if your router's never actually. So you got to be, you know, very careful. There's a lot of them going up. There's a lot of stuff. There's that Netflix phishing scam also. Hey, Shakil Chauhan, nice to have you here. So, well, it says my router in theory has a patched firmware, but it fails to work with it. I actually bricked it. I had to use TFTP to flash back into something that works. Yeah, if your devices, you know, the important thing is if all the devices that connect on the wireless stuff at least are patched. It ain't that big of a problem if your router is not patched. It's really in the case where your router is not patched and a device that connects to it is not patched wirelessly. And of course, we've got to remind everybody that does not affect if you use wired connections. Anybody that uses Ethernet cables plugged into the router directly, you are unaffected by this thing. Android also has a lot of phishing scams and all sorts of problems of security that you got to be careful about. I got to tell you. So that's why I put that image, because it's one of those operating systems that is possible. So we got a few questions, not a lot, coming from the internets. We have an email from Atawahinta that sometimes is in the chat room, talking about shutdown, and it's a question I get from time to time. So you shut down the PC and it says that it can't shut down, something requires, you know, is preventing the shutdown, and you got to allow it to shut down, force shutdown before it goes down. So she's got one of those problems, and I will be posting a video explaining a few things that you can try. But one of the first ones that I would try is right click in the taskbar at the bottom of your screen, and when you right click there, go to the task manager, go into the startup tab, and as an experiment, disable everything that you see that starts up with your computer, even Windows Defender, just out of, you know, nowhere. Shut down, restart. Play a little bit with your computer. Shut down. If you see it doesn't happen again, start slowly bringing back each program that you need. And by the way, there are probably some software in there that you'll easily keep disabled at startup, just to you know, because they're not needed. You know, personally, most of my PCs, all I have that starts up is Windows Defender for the antivirus. The rest of the stuff I keep checked as disabled. So and by doing that, if you had multiple things that actually started, maybe you can pin down that one of them, that when it actually works, is creating a shutdown problem with your PC. And I'll be posting a video where I'm going to explain a few things, including trying to pinpoint something that, because in your case it doesn't say what's preventing. You know, sometimes we have the information that says, oh, that software, you know, is preventing a shutdown. But there are some cases, and she is in those in that case where there's no indication. It just says something is preventing the shutdown, but there's no information about what it is. And so I'll be posting a video in the next, probably either tonight or tomorrow morning when it's going to be there, according to that. And also I need to post that famous video about how to check your lock screen, for those that have the lock screen that disables or shuts down every minute if you leave the computer on. It's coming. There's two things you got to check for that also. There's one is a registry hack. The other one is just common sense. Check your, because some people have that problem, check your screensaver. Make sure that it's not there and says, oh, blank, and after a minute, because that's your screensaver just going blank. But we'll be posting both videos coming. So we have also a message from Steven that says that he was wondering, because he says that his router is not patched, which makes him a little nervous, and he says that he's using 2 Windows 10 PCs that are on his Wi-Fi, and he's got a iPhone with 11.1 in iOS. So you know what, no need to worry, and don't even take the time to, unless you got some unpatched stuff, you don't need to take the time to look at, is there a patch for my router, for the very simple reason that you've got 2 Windows 10 computers, they are already patched, and iOS 11.1 as a patch for that also. So that means your devices are safe. There's no danger. They can't do anything. It's really in the possibility of you got some other device, say an Android device, and connect. Now, okay, between the Android device and your router, there could be some sniffing of the packets to see what you're doing. But they can't do it if your devices are fixed. In your case, you got 3 fixed devices. So even if your router's not updated, it doesn't matter. This is one of the questions you were asking. Should I buy a new router if they don't upgrade? No. You can keep your router. As long as your stuff is patched, it's quite alright. And one user called Phil is asking what are the common issues or the creators update that have been reported. Okay, well, the common issues reported are really pretty much in the same category. Certain number of users can't upgrade. Seems that there's a problem. Certain number of users, certain amount of users are reporting that they have no apps when they upgrade, or part of their apps are missing. And some users have been reporting all sorts of various little things here and there. You know, there's if you look at the list, there's a long list, and somebody was telling me, oh man, look at that, all the problems with Volker's update. No, it ain't actually it doesn't have that many problems, but by the sheer nature of the millions of people that are upgrading, yes, there are problems popping up sporadically here and there, but overall in very small numbers compared to the rollout. So, you know, we're below the 1% mark, that's for sure. Of course, once again, like somebody already told me, yeah, but you know, it's when you got a problem, it's annoying. Yes, I do know it's annoying when you got a problem, but I can tell you that it's a very small amount of people, according to the telemetry and the information I see, that have issues. But if we start looking, there are like 300 million types of issues, yeah, depending on the hardware you've got. But that will be a subject of a video, because I have been looking at one place that I go to where there's a lot of information of the different problems. We'll be checking out some of the most common issues. I'm trying to find things that we can fix. Yeah, consumer routers have a big issue with two things. A lot of them, you got to upgrade the firmware by yourself. If you don't do it yourself, it stays unpatched. That is kind of idiot because most people don't know that you need to upgrade the router's firmware. And the other thing about that is also so many routers out there will never get patched. I can tell you that. Just crazy. So you know, it's just really sad. Yeah. I once owned Nils Pedersen's talking about routers. He doesn't like routers from the internet service provider, and he says that he doesn't trust them. And I've once had a router from a internet service provider. That was before when I was on Bell instead of Videotron where I am now. And I remember I would actually go to the manufacturer of the modem / router because it was one of those devices that had everything in it. And I would actually upgrade the firmware myself when I knew there were some problems with firmware or stuff like that. And I would go there, and I remember that when I called once because I had connectivity issues with the internet. And when the lady asked me on the phone, "Oh, do you know if how to go into your routers?" The lady tells me you should go to the router, do this, do that, and say, "Oh, it doesn't work like that on mine." And she was like, "Yeah, it works like that on all these devices." No. I've upgraded the firmware. That way of doing things doesn't work anymore. And she kind of gave me that speech on the phone. You should not do that. You're supposed to keep the firmware that is with the device and blah 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 blah. And I remember telling her, "Yeah, right. So I stay unsafe when I do things." Yeah, come on. And I always preferred to have my own router rather than the one that internet service providers provide. Absolutely. I don't know what could have happened in Ripple Pearls. There's not enough details. A clean install Ripple Pearls is very straightforward. If you look at the videos that I've posted, I'm going to upgrade them by the way for the Fall Careers update. It's so automatic. I mean, Windows 10 is the easiest of all operating systems to install. It does everything almost automatically. You have very little questions. So very little questions to answer. So it's really crazy. What else do we have? Let me just check it out. I can't find my router update menu. I checked all the options and still didn't find it. What's the model of router you have, Cooltech? It should have the most of them don't have a update per se. It doesn't say update, but it will have something called firmware. And if you click firmware, you should have a little box that says browse. So you can actually go and get the firmware that you've downloaded from the manufacturer. And then update, because it's not going to necessarily say update. It might just be firmware, and often it's in the utilities or in the system tools, or there's different versions, and each router is very unique in its version, and also it depends what firmware you got, if it was modified like with DDWRT, for example. Yeah, sometimes I'm thinking of actually flashing my router with a DDWRT firmware instead of the one that is from TP-Link. So yeah. Vault says, what I want from internet service providers is a transparent bridge, but seems harder and harder to get that way. They give Wi-Fi and whatnot in their devices. Yeah, there's like, you know, I like a good, you know, a good old modem, only a modem. It's the only thing I want from my provider. You know, from here they have this service now that you can actually have, you know, a router, and with your modem they offer a router for like 99 cents a month or something, and in you know, fees. I don't want to have that. I want to have a straightforward modem that just connects and let me do the rest, and let me use my router, and let me do what I want. All I want is a modem. That's it. I want to connect. Let me do the rest. For everything that's network in my home, I want to have full control with my devices. So, you know, it's crazy. You know, it's just crazy. But, you know, for a lot of people, it's, you know, for us tech enthusiasts and more advanced users, we want to have that. But honestly, you know, when I go to clients and they have a router and they have issues, and sometimes they call me just for the router, and sometimes it's easy, you know, and it's just like, well, okay, I'm gonna have to pay, you know, that high fee just because it was that. Most of my clients, what I would say was, well, get your internet service provider's router, for the simple reason that if you got an issue, you can call them and they'll help you with that problem. And you can call me for more serious issues instead of, like, you know, my Wi-Fi doesn't connect, or, you know, things that are very, very basic, basically. So this is show number 95. I don't have a lot more to say about. Anybody else has something they want to add, say, you know. What is a modem or a router? Okay, Ripple Pearls. Your internet connection, in order to connect to the internet, we need what's called a modem. And the modem is what translates the signals from your cable or your fiber optic or whatever wire that gets in your home for the internet, and transforms that to what your computer can understand and give you internet access. It gives all the details on how to connect to the web. So that is a modem. It's what connects you to the internet. Routers are there to split that connection into several different connections for multiple devices. So somebody that would have one desktop, a big desktop computer with no Wi-Fi, would typically have only a modem. Why? He has only one PC. You got to plug in with a wire. It's the basics of what a modem will give in connectivity. A direct access to the internet, and that's it. You've got laptops, tablets, desktops, all sorts of devices. Then you will get a router. The router connects to the modem. So that output of internet from the modem will go into the router, because the job of the router is to route or give it multiple devices will have access. So it's now splitting that internet connection into all the devices you've got. So for example, I've got, you know, my modem. I've got the AC 1750 router. It splits the internet to my laptop here that's on this TV, or if I use the smart TV mode in here, it will connect to the TV. It will connect to every device. It connects to my phone. The router is there to split the internet, on multiple devices. Now there are hybrid modem slash routers out there. The modem and router is included in the same box. So some ISPs have that integrated into the same device. You will have that modem part that gets the internet, and they'll have the router part also in here, all integrated into one box. For some people that's nice because it means only one device, it means less wires, it means sometimes a little less complex when you are having issues, although sometimes it can be worse and be more complex when you have issues. It all depends. So it's really that difference is there. Modem, what connects to the internet. Router, what splits that connection to all your devices. That's pretty much it. And like I said, there are devices that are have both. But you know, there's a lot of things. Routers are very complex little devices. They have menus. They have all sorts of things you can change in there. You can control everything on routers. It's more, you know, it's a very complex device. Where a modem is very straightforward in general. It's just we connect and that's it. Cool Tech. What do you think of the Google Pixel 2 XL? They look nice. And honestly, I find the 2 XL to be really beautiful. But the more I see the reports of all the problems, the more I'm starting to think, whoa, what the hell's happening with this device? So many reports of burn-ins on the screen. And you know, burn-ins for OLED screens is something that every device can suffer. I mean, even the my Galaxy S7, which is an OLED screen, could technically have a burn-in where the pixels actually are kind of stuck at a specific, you know, a specific device. Let me just do something, guys. I forgot to elevate my laptop, and I'm hearing the fan is going wild on the laptop right now. I'll just put it a little higher so that the heat can dissipate a little bit, because I think it's trying to fall into a power save mode to lower the load on my CPU. So anyways, there's, you know, burn-in. They have all sorts of issues that are kind of weird. I don't know, and there's so many issues, and that device is barely being pushed out right now. I wonder, is it a good phone or not? You know, can I stay on 1703 on my HP tablet? Will it expire? The every version of Windows that we get, okay, every new version, so 1703 for example, it has a 18-month cycle. That means 1703, which was released on April 2nd, will expire sometime at the end of 2018. So for now, you can stay there, and you'll see at the end of next year when it expires what you want to do with that HP tablet, if you want to try to upgrade it. But you know, from experience, Douglas, I can tell you I've got that little tablet here, 8-inch. Just totally crazy to try to upgrade this. It's such a hassle to upgrade that little thing because there's never enough space. It's really complex. It just drives me crazy just to upgrade that thing. Sometimes I think of going back to Windows 8.1 and leaving it there. At least Windows 8.1 will have it's, you know, will be serviced up to like 2023 or something. You know, I think that's better. So if you're on 1703, you'll be okay up to like something like October of next year, when you'll get the last update. So from now till then, well, you'll have the time to see what you could do, basically. What else do we have here? What else do we have here? Yeah, it's not, you know, and questions aren't dumb, you know. I mean, a lot of people don't know half of what they have in front of them. You know what? It's crazy because the when I go to when I did a lot of tech jobs, you see how what for me is extremely simple is in reality really complex for a lot of people. It's just crazy. Hey, Jacqueline Black, nice to have you on board. So Yeah, well, we'll have a build sometime this week probably. They're at the Web Summit or something like that right now. Donna Sarkar is at Web Summit, and so of course they are kind of doing other things at the same time. And you know, I think they're not in a real big hurry of builds, because since these new builds are still with very few new features, it's not like, you know, when we're getting to that major version. But you know, there's going to be something for sure. There's going to be something this week. I wouldn't be surprised tomorrow. I would totally not be surprised that tomorrow we'll get one. If we look here at, she hasn't posted in 8 hours. So they're at the Web Summit doing fundraising and all sorts of things. You know, when they're at these events, there's often, it coincides with less builds. I don't know if they fixed that build where green screens were happening when you upgraded, but it's gonna come this week for sure. It's gonna come for sure. What else do we have here? Good news, it take a long time to look at this post inside Hub 1709, 16.299.19. Restart leaves current users signed in after reboot 17 hours old. Okay, so there's something happening with that. Yeah. The only way to have 1709, Douglas, is to do like on my tablet. My tablet, I can't upgrade. If I try to upgrade, it's going to tell me I don't have enough room. And by the way, there's one thing you can try, Douglas, if you, I don't know if you've tried it, if you want to try that. If your device can accept SD cards, pop an SD card in it, and when it says there's no room, I believe it says also, do you want to put the files of the install on another drive? And you can actually have the files extracted to the SD card. Sometimes it gives you enough room for it to upgrade to Windows 10. I had that happen on my Windows 8 tablet that I had upgraded to Windows 10. In my case, it did that, and then it said, and then it failed. But maybe it won't fail on you, and it will work. But you know what I do with mine? I put a little USB hub, because these things have only one USB port. I put a little USB hub, and in it I put the wireless keyboard, because the touch screen doesn't work most of the time right from the start of the Windows install. So I put the little dongle for this wireless keyboard, and I will put the USB thumb drive that contains the clean install of the Windows 10 operating system. From there, I will boot from the USB thumb drive and will clean install the latest version. It's a hell of a hassle, and it's always really complicated. It's always a mess. You got to try it. It's like 2 million times. And what's worse is these devices are so slow that it takes hours to install Windows. And it's just crazy. And you know, you got to power it, because if you don't power it, you'll run out of batteries on the tablet. I hate these shitty tablets for that. You know, they're fun to use and very inexpensive, but man, just so crazy. Just so crazy. What else do we have? Do you like the 18:9 aspect ratio on phones like S8 or the normal 16:9? No, it's kind of interesting, the 18:9. I like, you know, my next phone is going to be a big phone. I actually like phones that are huge. You know, if there was a 10-inch tablet phone, I think I would have a 10-inch tablet phone carrying with me all the time. Maybe not that big, but I mean, I love big phones. Really, really love big phones. So, what else do we have here? Yeah, that's what happened to mine too. It did everything it should do. It was using the SD card for that, so you're probably having the same issue as I am. They must. I'm pretty sure your HP probably is based on the same low profile CPUs and stuff, but it's just you know, it's just a hassle. So what I do is I plug in that little USB hub. I'll plug in. How did I do it? I was trying to remember. So I think the way I did it is I charged the tablet so it was full battery, and then I plugged that little USB hub, plugged the wireless keyboard and the USB thumb drive, and I just booted from there and started a clean install. But I remember it was really, really complicated. Maybe I should, you know what, my tablet's doing nothing. You're giving me an idea, Douglas. Maybe I should do a video of me upgrading the tablet, and you'll see how I do it at the same time, and maybe you'll get an idea of how to upgrade yours. And I'm sure a lot of people out there probably would like to have such an upgrade video possibility also. Someone asked me, can you block the port of updates on your router? You can't, because they come from, if the only thing that will block the updates will block your internet also. So you can't from the router block the updates. But do like most of the time when people don't want to have the big major updates like Fall Careers update, I tell them, well, just enable metered connection and you'll be okay. You'll be okay. What else do we have? Well, it says, I dislike big phones. They look dumb and don't fit in hands or pocket. I like them. I like them. But it's kind of a more complex thing. And the winter time isn't too bad because, you wear the big coats. And I remember in the winter, I would actually drag my 8-inch tablet with me all the time. People would be surprised when I would get out the 8-inch tablet. But in the summertime, I have to say it's more of a problem because a really big phone doesn't fit in the shirt pocket. I do like the fact that it fits in a shirt pocket because it's easy to go anywhere and just have it, with you. That's pretty much it. Yes, Pedersen says, yeah, I don't like people. I'm a big sister guy. Is very, yeah, okay. My big sister buy a new phone and she did not understand all the things. Most people don't understand much of their devices. People do very little with their devices. I mean, the phones today are complex devices. They're computers. They're really, really full-fledged computers. And there's very little stuff. I'm the only one, and one of the only one that really uses his device a lot. The other day, a friend came over, and he looks at the screen here and says, hey, how come your phone screen is on the TV? And I was telling him, I said, well, I got this little Anycast dongle here, which is a USB. It's like a little bit like a Chromecast, but this one's called Anycast. The difference it has is that it has 2 modes in it. It has AirPlay and it has Miracast. So if you want your Android phone to go to the TV, since it has Miracast, it works automatically. Your Windows 10 computer, put it on the TV, choose Miracast. And if you have an iPhone or an iPad, you put it in AirPlay mode. And it's compatible like the Apple TV, and will actually display on your TV. So basically what I do is I just put the HDMI in the TV. I have USB ports on the side of the TV, so I power it from the TV itself. And this is just a Wi-Fi antenna. And it actually works well. I play games. The other day I played, I think I played 2 hours of Asphalt 8 from my Galaxy phone on this. There's a very slight lag but it's not enough to prevent you from actually having working. The only thing, you need to have a really good connection with your router in order for it to work well. But it's kind of cool. I like these little things. And this is like 25 Canadian dollars for this, and it works surprisingly well. To you know, just send your phone picture there. It's kind of cool. But you know, not a lot of people know that you can do things like that. iPhone 10 or iPhone 8? Well, if I was to buy an iPhone, I'd buy the 10, not the 8. You know, if I will not buy an iPhone. But if I was to buy an iPhone, I'd get the 10 immediately, and I skip the 8. You know, might as well. You know, the 8 is still very expensive. Might as well, you know, put the couple of $100 more and get the 10. That's what I would do. But you know, for most people, and I look at my friends around me, most of them have old iPhones. You know, some friend of mine was actually upgrading his phone, got an iPhone 6. Why? Because the iPhone 6 was $0 with a contract. He didn't want to pay for a phone. Honestly, the iPhone 6 is a good phone. It's a great phone. The iPhone 7 is a great phone. You don't need to have iPhone 8 or iPhone 10. For most people, the older iPhone is okay. You know, got it pretty much. Yeah, you got to power it. You need to power it. Unless there's a version, if your TV, because there's a HDMI standard that actually can power the device. So some TVs can actually power it. This one is not for that, but I've got USB ports. If you don't have a USB port, you will need to plug this into a power source to have it working. It needs to be really powered I think they ask for 500 milliamps of power for it. So Nils Pedersen says the LG V30. Yeah, you know, these are nice phones actually. So, you know. Yes, Vaults, there's also the possibility to use MHL. Absolutely, but for most things, because Windows 10 is very likes the Miracast directly, and there's also, you know, AirPlay, which is very unique. AirPlay for the Apple side is very unique. It requires a very specific set of devices and settings. I can tell you that. But personally, if I buy a phone now, I would probably get the Galaxy Note 8 because I'm extremely satisfied with my Galaxy phone, and I want a big phone. I get the Galaxy Note 8. Probably. The Pixel 2 XL looks interesting, but with all the reports of problems, I'm not sure I want to get one of those. Actually, I'm waiting for Paul Thurrott. Paul Thurrott had a premium featured article on should I or not get the Pixel 2 phone because of all the problems. He had ordered the Pixel 2 XL, and I was wondering if he should cancel because he was wondering if the problems that he's seen everywhere is major. But he decided to keep the order, so he should have one this week. I'm waiting for his little report on that for sure. So Kind of nice. But you know, $1,000 for a phone is crazy. I can tell you that. Really crazy. $1,000 for a phone is really crazy. Really, really crazy. And you see today there was a article that was saying that the parts for the iPhone 10 costs Apple something like $359, and that's for the $999 version. So they make $600 on each device. I mean, they could easily sell these things for $500 and they'd make money, and they'd sell probably tons more. But Apple has always been like that. Apple has always been, let's really, really get a big chunk of money out of every device we make. I can tell you. What else do we have here? Nils Pedersen says, yep, Note 8 is very fine. And Samsung S8, you can run internet cable with a dongle. Yeah, you know, Galaxy S8 also is very nice. S8 Plus, very nice device. I don't want to pay $1,000 for a phone though. I'd pay $200 or $300 to upgrade to a premium phone with a contract, but I'm not paying $1,000 for a phone. No way. Valtz says the overpriced estimated hardware cost of latest iPhone is like 35%. Yeah, it's like $350. I think they said $358. So $358. That's crazy. It means they are making $640 on each one sold. This is crazy. This is totally crazy. Can I get my Invoke to use my mail and calendar app? From what I know, yes. How? I don't know, but yes. There's some linking capabilities in there for sure. Your Invoke can connect and have all the apps, the major apps of your Windows 10, and it actually can interact with your Windows 10 PC. So yes, you can have all of that in there. You can even have your mail read to you, and in the syncing, your Invoke Cortana in your Invoke should actually tell you about your appointments, as if you can actually Gripple Pearls tell Cortana to add an appointment if you want, just vocally. That works really well, by the way, with Cortana. Of all the assistants I've tried to take an appointment, Cortana is amazingly good. Amazingly good. So, you know. Alex says, keep in mind that the Note 8 does not have a big battery like the S8 Plus. Yeah. I could take an S8 Plus, honestly, but you know, by the time I have 3 months left on my contract. When I get there, I'll see what I'm gonna do. You know, right now, if somebody would say, "Oh, you want to have a iPhone 10 for $1,000?" I'd probably tell that person, "Well, I'll take that $1,000 and buy a new laptop instead." I can tell you that. Yeah, the Chinese workers. Yeah, $2 probably, Patrick. The Chinese workers work hard for nothing. Okay, wants to go to Outlook. There's a way to do that, absolutely, Gripple Pearls. There's a way to change the defaults. That's for sure. It might be, there's one thing though, it might be possible that it's not yet ready for that. You know, there's going to be some upgrades to the device. There's going to be some upgrades to the device coming soon. So, oh, here it is. First impressions. Thanks for the info. And I will be looking forward for its premium, because he's going to probably do a premium version of this with what he likes and doesn't like. So it finally arrived. And he says he doesn't understand all the complaining. So okay, that's interesting. He seems to kind of like the so his first impressions. He's giving out his first impressions. Oh, beautiful screen. Beautiful screen. Well, it's very nice. Look at the difference. He's showing the Pixel 2, the 2016 Pixel XL, and the right side is the Pixel 2 XL. Should have put the same picture in the background though to have a better idea of its colors and capabilities to kind of show the difference. Huh, I'll be checking that out. Very interesting here. So he's got his first impressions posted already. Wow. What else do we have? I put an appointment on the mail and calendar app and asked Invoke about it the other day, and she told me I had no appointments on the day asked for her. Huh. It's a question of setting it up right. I'm sure she can do it. By the way, she'll like your Halloween for next year on the wall. Yeah, I'm soon to remove that. I was looking at that before the show started, and it was like, actually I saw it in the screen when I turned on the Wirecast, and I was like, oh, I think it's time to remove the Halloween stuff from the wall. But I still have my Halloween tree and coffin here. Many years, what I do is you know, keep the Halloween stuff there until I put my Christmas tree up with the Christmas decorations. Do you like a desktop or a laptop? I prefer laptops because of the mobility side and the fact that you don't sit down always at the same place to do whatever you need to do. But if I had really the cash, I would like to have one of both, because I'd probably like to have a desktop to play games. And you know, I'd probably put a desktop here. I already have a desktop here on the back, which is an old Core 2 Duo on this screen that drives some devices like a software-defined radio. But you know, I for personal use, I'd rather have a laptop for the mobility side to it. Mobility side to it. What else do we have? Liz Pedersen says, I think you're going to be happy with Note 8. If I was to get a new phone, would go for the Note 8. And you know, I always have these last minutes. When I actually, when I buy a new phone, the first thing I do is sit down and look at different phones on the internet, what people are saying. So, and then I will call up my provider and say, okay, how much will you sell me that model of phone? That's what I did last year. When I saw everybody saying, hey, Galaxy S7 is an amazing phone, was the best out there. I was like, okay, how much for the Galaxy S7? And it cost me upfront $250 with 2-year contract. So, you know, that's in the range of price that I'm okay to pay. But it's crazy. But, you know, with a contract, also means your monthly payments are higher. Yeah, it's time for the Christmas party lights. Absolutely, Vaults. You are right. Hey, Kirk Weber, nice to have you here. Says, I try to use Edge, but the video starts and stops on YouTube. Chrome works flawlessly. On YouTube, I have no problems with Edge. But I did notice that the video playback on some websites, like for example, the Twit Network, works better on Chrome. Really works better on Chrome. What do you think that makes a low-end router versus high-end router for you? Several things. Because first of all, a low-end router usually, you know, routers have a CPU to have everything working. And I'll give you an idea. I had a Linksys, not low end, but mid-range router. And I purchased the Acer, the TP-Link, TP-Link AC1750, which is more expensive, which I still consider low, like mid to high range, because it's still not in the highest range. There's some higher range than that. But what makes these interesting is a higher, a more expensive router, a high-end model will usually have a CPU that's more powerful, meaning when you route a lot of things together, it actually does the job better. And the example that I have on that is I got an SDR, which is a software-defined radio. That thing pushes out tons of data when I'm actually using it. And of course, I need to use the router and the internet for other things. On my Linksys, when I would start that device, the internet and everything would like slow down suddenly because the router is doing too much things and the CPU isn't powerful enough to actually handle all the traffic. And it would make it crash also because it simply would overload the router with too much data. So basically, a higher end router will have a better CPU, first of all, so that everything in the routing will be faster and better. It can handle much more traffic and much more devices simultaneously that work well. The other thing about a higher end router is its menus will often be much more extensive. You'll have much more choices and many more things you can actually change or set or play with within the settings than a basic router also. So these are some of the things that are very, very different from, a higher end router than a low end model. And there are some differences, major differences, for sure. I will say that a router I will say that a lot of people buy cheap routers and have a lot of connectivity issues, and very often the problem is the cheap router also. Ripple Pearls, I saw a thingy on Outlook.com that asked if I wanted to use mail in calendar app just once or permanently. Is that it? Might be it, yes, it's possible, but I don't know if it's on the PC side or if it's on on the I'm trying to think here, because the invoke, okay, is linked to your Microsoft account. So technically, if you switch and use only the mail app and the calendar app, I think Cortana should actually work with that suddenly, because she knows that that's what you are doing. I think it's on the standards of Edge, the way that it actually wants to play video. And I think the standards used on Edge have some compatibility issue with video playback compared to Chrome. Like I said, on YouTube, if I go on YouTube and a lot of websites, the video playback is flawless on Edge for me. But on streaming on the Twitch network, for example, I gotta use Chrome. It's the only way that it won't do weird things while I'm streaming. Vault says, while I admit Microsoft has done internally much better job with Edge than with their previous browsers, I still don't like it, and that's from the guy who often used Internet Explorer 8 to Internet Explorer 11. So I like it. I like Edge. I kind of but you have also your point of view with the developer side, which is different from the user side also. So Okay, because the problem with, the weird thing about, Ripple Pearls, because I don't have spam. Spam is not an issue on my Outlook on mailing calendar. Because if spam is blocked on Outlook.com, it should not appear on your mail and calendar app. I have absolutely zero spam on my mail app with my Outlook email. So you shouldn't have, technically. Tim Robinson, I just got a Logitech C720. I thought they would be working fine at this development stage of Windows 10. Skype won't use it. This is weird that Skype doesn't use it. This is very, very bizarre. Like my HDHI and IN router, Asus RT AC50-300. Yeah, these are nice. Patrick Manny says, one gripe with Edge is that when it gets an update, I lose all my favorites in the favorites bar. It does not sync like it is supposed to. You know what, Patrick? I got that happening here on the Insider machine, but on every other device, I got no problems at all, and my favorites are there. Like on my main machine here, I've been using Edge since the beginning, and my favorites have been there since the beginning and never got away. I think there's a glitch that might happen sometimes on some device that not necessarily happens. And even here, I would actually have all the favorites there for since the beginning of I used this machine for a the Insider stuff. All I gotta say is I've had no issues until about a month ago, a month ago, when there was an update. Well, actually, not even. It was updated, it was working fine, and one day I turned it on and my favorites were gone. And it doesn't sync. I've tried everything. I've tried to disable the syncing of everything, re-enable it. There's something that's not right. I'm trying to find a fix, because I think that would be a video that a lot of people would like to see, because I've seen that there are quite a few people that have that issue. So yes, more advanced routers will actually, and as False also confirms and says, higher end router have more memory, which is required to handle more connections in parallel, and so there's a lot of stuff. Yeah, CPU is as important as RAM in routers, Vaults, I can tell you that. Yes, more RAM, absolutely, but CPU also. Having a more powerful CPU will help the router really handle a lot of the stuff also. Get tired of having to reset all my settings in Edge every time I get an update. That's weird that you have to do that. I get updates and I have no issues. It's very, very interesting to see the different problems of different people. Kirk Weber says, would probably spend $1,000 if I had it. Still a crazy price. Apple is Rolls Royce of phones. But yes and no, because I gotta tell you one thing. An iPhone 10 is $1,000, but the Pixel 2 XL is like 800 something. I mean, a Galaxy Note 8 is 800 bucks. It's not that far from 1,000. High-end phones are very expensive, and I think high-end phones are too expensive. I think they are. I think the companies are making way too much money on these devices. That's more of the problem, because you're in the big ball player here. When you get a high-end phone from any manufacturer, they're all expensive. This is bizarre with your problem there, Alex. I don't know. It's weird that you've got 2 users and you can't delete them from the store. It's a very, very bizarre. Yeah, absolutely. YouTube does send the video in a format that depends on your browser, on your browser's capabilities. It's kind of interesting. Yeah, that's more of the notification thing. Like the Skype, you say that you don't have as much spam that you used to have when you got rid of Skype. That was more of a Skype setting that you would have to just say to Skype, don't send any notifications through email of anything that's happening here. It's like Facebook. A friend of mine was saying, oh, I stopped using Facebook. I was getting 300 emails a day of everybody doing stuff on Facebook. And I said, well, it's not stopping to use Facebook. It's just to go in Facebook and say, please don't send notifications to emails, so that you don't get it in your email, in your account there. So it's really weird. How often do I replace my routers? Well, my routers, I don't think any of my routers have lasted more than a year. But because I'm a tech guy and I have the occasion of changing it regularly, and I like to have something that's fairly recent in general. So Windows 7 is dying, and that's quite alright, is all I gotta say. I am one of those that thinks Windows 7 is obsolete. If it works for you and you're happy, that's okay, but I don't see the use of Windows 7 when Windows 10 works so well with a lot of stuff. And I personally like Windows 10. And I actually don't get it that people just want to stay in Windows 7 and never want to go to another version like Windows 10. What routers do I like? What I'll do is usually just if I buy a router, I'll like go on a website and say, okay, top 20 routers. What are the top 20 or top 30 best routers right now? Look at the models, look at their prices, and go within my price range. I usually will, put about $100 to $150 in a router in there, somewhere in there. Sometimes it happens you can get it cheaper. Like right now I've got the AC 1750 and I got it for $80, which is not too bad, but I stay away from below $50 routers. They usually don't perform very well. So yeah, I saw the pictures, Alex. It was very, very weird. The program I use is Wirecast Gamer. What happened? Because eventually someone added themselves to my Skype contacts, though the old didn't use in years, and I didn't know. I don't know, because I would have liked to see. It's what's very difficult. Hey, take care, Nils Pedersen. It was nice to have you on board, by the way. What you got to be very, very. What is very, very peculiar here is I would have liked to see exactly what happens, because what is difficult with when you explain something is like my clients, they explain it in a way that it actually gives me an image of, okay, a possibility, and most of the time it's not that at all. So I've had many clients say, oh, well, somebody has added himself or done this, and when I go and see it, is no, nobody added. Is the way that it works is just sometimes people don't understand exactly the way that things are working out. I really would have liked to see actual screenshots of what you were having as an issue. basically, because if your Skype is linked to your Microsoft account, nobody can add themselves to your Skype. No one, unless you approve them. Unless you say, yes, I approve that person. And I do not believe somebody did that on your account, add themselves without you doing anything. I'm trying to find out. There must be something, the interpretation that you have of this. But it's just crazy. So but there's not that much change, Waltz. I'm sorry, but I don't agree with, when everybody tells me, oh well, new Windows, there's so many different things. There isn't. There's a desktop, a start menu, things look a little different, but the actual use of Windows 10 is no different than Windows 7. It just has a few changes in the look, but and I've actually looked at many people that upgraded to Windows 10 and that told me, I don't see what's the fuss of not understanding how this works. It works the same and I have no issues. I don't totally agree with the fact that, because for what people do, there isn't any difference. You got a desktop, a taskbar, a start menu. It's Windows. If you go more into it, then yes, you get the major changes. But for just surface scratch using your PC, and for enterprise is the same, except for the IT guy. Yes, the IT guy has many more differences. And I agree with one thing on the IT side. You can't allow every 6 months to have an update, a major update like that, because it's crazy. For enterprise, it's totally nuts. So that side is no good for enterprise, that's for sure. But that said, when it works, it works. So yeah, got nothing here. It says buffering. You guys say buffering, but I think it's YouTube. I have I'm green everywhere. It's telling me right now that I'm uploading 4 megabits per second, so I've got absolutely no internet issues at my end anyways. I can tell you that. So hey Ovidio, nice to have you on board. Everything is all right here. I wish I was green everywhere. But no, everything's here. Everything's green, so I don't nothing on my end. That's for sure. It could be one of those. It's one of those. Maybe one of those problems with the slowdown of the internet also. Well, Windows 7 is, it's Windows 7. As a tech guy, what I will always say and what I always said to everybody when they had a PC, oh, I got Windows 7, should I? No, it's okay. There shouldn't, you're okay. You do what you want to do. You'll get a new Windows when you get a new PC. That's pretty much always what I did all the time. Unless they were at really a version that was out of date and for security reasons. But apart from that, Alex Mendoza, what tablet would I buy? A Windows or an Android tablet? I like both. So it's not necessarily one over the other. I would buy a Windows tablet because it would do more of what I want to do because of all the things that I do and the programs I use. But I would also buy an Android tablet. But I would buy a good tablet, I can tell you that. Yeah, well, there are. Microsoft is really. Microsoft is really king of the old code versus new code all mixed together. That I can tell you guys. Microsoft is a winner in that department of old and new all mixed in together, and sometimes creating real bad interactions. I can tell you that. But you know, it depends what you want to do, Alex. I would personally, I will really use a Windows tablet because of the fact that I can install all my favorite programs in it. But I would still like an Android tablet also. They are, you know, a nice, powerful Android tablet. Kind of cool. Android is a nice operating system to use also on a tablet, and you would get more battery life probably from an Android tablet than on a Windows tablet. Can you tell? So yeah, I'll have to check that out. It could be simply them that they didn't update the icon for some reason. Alex says, do you think that Windows 10 needs more control versus Home? I do not think. I think Pro is for a big company. I think we have Windows Pro get more control and textures. You know, I think for home users, the home version is quite alright, and it doesn't necessarily need more control. You know, one of the things that I get all the time is people telling me, "Oh, I hate it that Windows updates the cumulative updates every month. I can't stop them." And I will answer back to a question like that. It's fine that you can't stop that update from getting there because it's security updates, and you are not only putting yourself at risk, you're putting others at risk if you don't update your machine. So for that, I don't agree to the rant of, well, I want to stop updates when I don't want them. Except like I said in the past, driver updates should be in the possible department of, you know, maybe yes, maybe no. I'll decide when I want to do it. And I think there should be more control on the possibility of not getting the latest version. For example, the Fall Careers update, for example. If you wish not to have it now, I think that you should have a easier control over it. You can do a control. You can do with the metered connection trick, but nobody knows that. There should be a switch that says, "Oh, you know, huge feature upgrades. I put this at off, and it's not going to download right now, so I'm not going to have Fall Careers update right now." I think that should be an option because these are really big and they're different from regular little cumulative updates for security. But I do think security ones need to be pushed, and that I do not agree that an on-off switch for any security updates. And you know, drivers should be optional, absolutely. That I gotta say. What else do we have? I love the cooking video. Oh man, I tell you. Do you check your drivers to see if you have the latest current thingy? I don't check my drivers. I do not check my drivers when things work well. That's it. That's the only thing that I do. If everything works well on the driver's side, I don't touch anything. Windows 10, anyways, will download and upgrade your drivers automatically. Is the way it's designed now. And if you want to check if you have the latest drivers, the best place to go to is simply to go to the manufacturer of your device. So for example, I got a Toshiba. I would go to the Toshiba.com website, search for my specific model number, and check out when the latest drivers were uploaded there. But I am in the driver's side. I'm the kind of guy, if everything works well, don't touch it. Don't do anything. Leave it like that. It works. It ain't broke, don't fix it, like I said. And on the driver's side, it's something that is particularly true. So, hey guys and girls, I will be signing off. I will go and make a go and make a little pasta with some bolognese sauce or some kind of meat sauce. And I want to thank everybody. For the show and for being here. It's always nice to have all of you on board all the time. Next show, of course, is Thursday, the Windows Insider Hour. Hope you're going to enjoy, and maybe we'll be actually checking out a new version of the Windows Insider build at Redstone 4. So take care, everybody. It was nice to have you on board, and don't worry about it, Tim. You are quite welcome. And I don't know if I'll be making a cooking video again, but or if I do, I'll post it on another channel. I got tons of people that were displeased that I posted that right smack in the middle of my Windows channel. Like, you shouldn't put that there. It doesn't go with the subject of your channel. Yeah. Sometimes you just feel like saying shut up. But anyways, take care, everybody. And always nice to have all of you on board. Stay safe, people. Love you all. And see you either Thursday for the Windows Insider Hour or next week. And we are here every Tuesdays, 3 p.m. Eastern, 2000 hours UTC now. And of course, Windows Insider Hour on the Windows Insider channel is on Thursday at 3 p.m. Eastern, 2000 hours UTC. And of course, this week we have a live show for radio this Friday at 2000 hours UTC. I'm not sure I'm going to make a 5-hour and 30-minute show. Actually, it was record-breaking in a big package because the Friday radio show lasted 5 hours, 30 minutes, which is a record. But also the fact that the Saturday show lasted 4 hours and 30 minutes, which means in 2 days I had done 10 hours of streaming. That also is kind of a big record. So anyways, take care, everybody. Love you all. Stay safe.